As we continue to learn about geology and earth sciences, we're going to focus on erosion today. Erosion is the transport of rocks, soil, other dissolved materials from one place to another by either wind or water. Now, before we get started with the actual lesson, I want to show you guys a demonstration. What I have here is a model of 3 different types of land. On the left, the first model, we'll see a type of land that just has loose soil and nothing else. The second type of land also has loose soil, but it's covered with dead leaves. Now the third bottle, and the one all the way on the right, the third type of land, has soil, but it also has grass. It has a plant inside of it. What we want to see is which type of land will have the most erosion, which will have the least. Can you make a prediction in your mind? Now the type of erosion we're going to test is erosion by rain. We're going to pour water onto each of these types of land, and then we'll see if there is erosion, if rocks and soil and dirt move, or if they stay in the same place. Now again, here are my 3 types of land, and you'll see that there are cups hanging from each of these types of land, so that when I pour the water, we'll be able to see if the water has land and dirt inside of it, or is it clear? Now, if we see clear water, that means there was no erosion. And if we see dirt and soil and dirty water, then we know that there was erosion. Let's start with the first type of land. As I pour water in here, you'll see that the water is not perfectly clear. There is soil and dirt moving as well. Let's try our second type of land, and this is the land that has the dead leaves on it. And let's see if there's erosion here. Can we tell? Is it more? Is it less than the first one? Let's give it a little bit more water. And finally, let's try our last bottle, the one that has the plants, the grass inside of it. Wow, look at that. Give it a little bit more water. I'll wait for it to stop, and then we'll take a closer look. Now, if we take a closer look at the 3 cups, which one had the least erosion? Wow, that's obvious. There is no erosion here. Nice and clean, no dirt moved from the bottle into the cup. That means there was no erosion. And then which one had the second least erosion? Hard to tell, but if we look close, looks like this cup. There definitely was erosion. I see my water is no longer clear. It has dirt. But if I look at the dirt, the top layer, there is a thin layer. And then let's look at our third cup. Which one had the most erosion? Well, it's pretty close, but this one looks like it had more erosion. Look at that chunk of soil that's gathered at the top. Now, why is it that this happened? Why do you think some had more erosion and some had less erosion? Now, as we compare these three different types of land, let's start with the first one. This was loose soil. And when it rained, was there anything to protect the soil from moving? Was there anything holding it together? Was there anything covering it so it wouldn't move? Not at all, right? What if there was wind here? The soil would also move and it would erode and it would look different. The second type of land is very similar, but it has one layer of protection. On the top, these dead leaves are covering the soil. They're not allowing the soil to move as freely. They still did move. There was definitely erosion here. But was it as much as this one? Not really, it was less. Now finally, why was there no erosion here? Crystal clear water came out. Well, this land had two types of protection. Definitely a layer on top, covering and protecting the soil. But can you think of the other layer of protection? We said that it was grass, there were plants. What's a structure that plants have that grow down into the ground? The roots, right? The roots are holding all of the soil together like many, many pairs of hands with fingers that are able to keep the soil together and not let them move. Now we investigated erosion with our models of land. Now we're going to continue and we're going to see the different types of landforms that can be created from erosion. For the slab, you will need 4 to 5 cups of sand, 2 tablespoons of dried clay, 1 large aluminum pan, water, a ruler, a tablespoon, a sharp object like a scissor, a few books. You will also need 2 quarter-liter containers and a few extra cups. Using your sharp object or your scissors, you will poke a hole on one end at the bottom of the pan, making it look like this. The hole opening is about the size of a dime. The next thing you will do is measure between 4 to 5 cups of sand into your container. It's 2, 3, 4, 5. Then with your powdered clay, you will measure 2 tablespoons of clay and mix it into the sand. Your proportions don't have to, your measurements do not have to be perfectly exact. Using your spoon, you just want to mix it. And you will measure 1 cup of water and pour it into the sand clay mixture. And at this point, you want to use your hands or a spoon or whatever you may have to mix the sand, the water, and the clay all together. Now for the next part, before we continue with the lab, you'll have to prep your 2 1/4-liter containers. You flip them over to the back, and you need to use a push pin or another sharp object to poke a hole inside the back and just move it around, making it slightly larger than the pinhole itself. You do the same thing with the second cup, but this time your hole is going to be even bigger. Now for the purpose of this video, I'm actually transferring my sand into an actual stream table, but it's the same concept. It's a long rectangular container with a hole at the bottom. Now what I'm going to do is use my hand to push all of the sand, back. And I'm going to measure the 20 centimeter mark, making sure everything is even. And I'm going to make this tight and as packed and as flat as possible. At this point, I'm almost ready to go. I'm going to put another large basin on the floor to catch any excess water or dirt that may come out. And then at the bottom of my stream table, you can go ahead and put books. I'm going to use this wooden tool that I have to prop it up. Make sure your stream table is hanging over your actual table, like so. Place your ruler about a couple of inches away from the top. Place your water source. This is the one with the small hole. This is called the standard. Right on top. And now we are ready to add the water. Now before I add the water, you'll see that my land is all smooth and there's completely flat. Watch as the water travels and how it's changing the land. Let's take a closer look and see how this water has affected our land. Have we created canyons, meanders, curves? Does the sand, does the land look like it did at the beginning? Very, very different. And this was just our standard source. This was our container with a very small hole. Next, we'll try the container with a bigger hole for our flood source. Okay, let's go ahead and add the water and watch what happens to the land. Now this is our container with the bigger hole. This would represent a flood. And watch what it has done to the land. Just add a little bit more water. Now, as you are running your stream table, it's a good idea to have this picture alongside and look and see if you can identify the mountains, the canyons, the plateau, the dunes. Have you created a valley, the meanders, a plain, the beach, a floodplain, or a delta? Hope you enjoyed that lab. This was a very messy lab, so I hope you were able to find an outdoor space to do it, and if not, indoor is fine too. Just make sure to clean up all the sand and dirt that eroded away.